In this tutorial, we're looking at equality versus identicality, and we're also looking at comparison operators. Let's take a look. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm creating an if-else statement, and we're saying if null is equal to undefined, do this. If not, do this. So this double equal sign here, this means equal, but if there's three equal signs, it means identical. If there's an exclamation mark and then an equal sign, this means not equal to. An exclamation mark and two equal signs means not identical to. So here we're checking if null is equal to undefined, then output this, that they're equal. And we can see here that null is equal to undefined. Now these are two different things, but because both null and undefined signify an absence of value, here they evaluate to true, that they were equal to each other. Now you'll notice that I didn't create this variable undefined anywhere. I just want to show you something really quick. So rather than put undefined here, let's take this blah right here, and let's put this inside here, and let's see what happens. Okay, and here we got an error, and I have the console open for Firebug right here. If I click on JS, we go, let's clear first and refresh, and we'll see we're looking right here, and it's saying blah is not defined. But when we put undefined in here and we refresh and we clear this, we didn't get an error. We've got this strange error here, and I don't know what that's talking about, so I'm going to ignore that. But basically we have no error. So you can see that rather than doing something like var cat and then setting it to nothing, which is going to give it, give cat an undefined value, we can also just put this undefined in here, and that works the same. So look at the next one. Here I'm saying if null is equal to 0, output this. Rather than talking too much, let's just see it in action. And it says null is not equal to 0. And let's put some break tags here. Okay, null is not equal to 0. So this evaluated to false, and we output this. So null is equal to undefined, but null is not equal to 0. Just wanted to make that clear. And let's look some more. If undefined is equal to 0, do this, and we see that undefined is not equal to 0. The reason I'm showing you guys these things is because in our last lesson we saw that if we just put an undefined in here, it evaluated to false, 0 was false, undefined was false. So we're just making some comparisons right now to find out a little bit more about what's equal and what's not. In this next one, if null is equal to undefined, and we actually already did this one already, let's delete that. Oh, I know what I want to do there. What I want to do here is I wanted to put, where am I? Yeah, I'm right here. I want to put the triple equals here. So here we want to see if null is identical to undefined. We saw that they were equal already, but now we want to see if they're identical or not. And let's check that out. And it says null is not identical to undefined. So you can see that they're two separate data types. They're not identical, but they are equal because they both don't have a value. And I don't need this. Okay, let's keep going. The next thing we're checking is if 1 is equal to the string 1, say 1 is equal to the string 1. Or else do this. You can see I'm very uncreative about my messages. Let's see that. Okay, and we see that, let's put some break tags here, and we see that 1 is equal to the string 1. So what happened here was, because we're using this like in a math situation, what JavaScript did was, because we just have this 1 here, it saw that it was being used in a mathematical context, and it converted it to the number 1. And that's why we got equal. So those two are equal because of the type conversion that happened internally. However, if we say if 1 is identical to the string 1, let's see what happens there. And we see 1 is not identical to the string 1. And the reason is, even though they have the same value, like if this is converted to 1, they'll have the same value, but these don't have the same data type. This is a number and this is a string. So in order for something to be identical, it has to have the same value and the same data type, which these don't. So this evaluates to false. Let's keep going. Here we're creating some simple variables, and let's look at our if statement. So what we're doing here is we're putting the comparison operator because we want to make a comparison. So here I'm saying if A is less than B, say it was true. Okay, 5 and a 6. This is going to evaluate to true. That evaluated to true. If we change the A to a 6 and we refresh, nothing happened because 6 is not less than 6. This evaluated to false and we jumped out. Okay. But what we can do here is, let's set these both to 6 actually. So we can see that this was false. 6 is not less than 6. But let's make a small change here. And what this is less than or equal to. So this says, if A is less than or equal to B, then say it was true. And we'll see that this was true because 6 is equal to 6. That's the less than equal sign. There's also greater than or equal to. This will also be true. If 6 is greater than or equal to 6, that was true. And we can put other stuff in here. We can say if A is identical to B, do this, and we can see that it's true. 6 is identical to 6, and we can do, let's make this a 5, and we'll say if A is identical to string, say that's true, and we'll see that this is going to be false. Okay, it disappeared on us. So A is equal, these are equal because they're the same number, but they have different data types, so they're not identical. But if I make this double equal sign, now we'll see this is true because of that, because of what happened internally in JavaScript. It saw that it was being used in a comparison context, and it converted this to an integer, and then they gave the same value. We can also do, let's do some more stuff. So we can, inside these parentheses, we can put more conditions. So if A is equal to string, which is true, and A is less than B, then do this. So in order for this whole thing to evaluate to true, this must be true and this must be true. And let's see what happens. And this is still here because both of these are true. A is equal to string and A is less than B. Okay? But if we change these around and put B here and A there, now this is not here because this all evaluated to false because it needed both of them to be true, but only one of them is true now. B is not less than A. However, what we can put here is we can put, this is called a pipe character. We can put 2 pipe characters there, and this means or. So now only one of these needs to evaluate to true in order for the whole thing to evaluate to true. So if A is equal to string or B is less than A, then do this. And we're going to see our output come back. That evaluates true. And I think right here is the same sort of thing we've been talking about, so I'll just leave that out. Okay, thanks for listening.